Hello. I just popped dinner in the oven and I thought I'd pop online because I've not really been around. I've been traveling to Maine, etc. Anyway, I was looking for, we had some trees come down around us, big storms, and I was looking for our tree guy, for our neighbor, and I couldn't find it. But what I did find is this bookmark. And this bookmark is from our book, The Rifle, or OBG General, right there. You can see the book. And on the back of it is the rifle creed. My rifle, the creed of a United States Marine. And I picked it up and I was trying to recite it. And I realized I've gotten rusty because I've not been reciting it. So if you've gotten rusty like me, try to recite it with me. Okay, so here we go. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My rifle is my best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I master my life. My rifle without me is useless. Without my rifle, I am useless. I must fire my rifle true. I must shoot straighter than my enemy who is trying to kill me. I must shoot him before he shoots me. I will. My rifle myself know what counts in this war. It's not the rounds we fire, the noise of our burst, or the smoke we make. We know it's the hits that count. We will hit. My rifle is human, even as I, because it is my life. Thus, I will learn it as a brother. I will learn its weaknesses, its strengths, its parts, its accessories, its sights and sparrow. I will ever guard it against the ravages of weather and damage, as I will ever guard my legs, my arms, my eyes, and my heart against damage. I will keep my rifle clean and ready. We will become part of each other. We will. Before God, I swear this creed. My rifle and myself are the defenders of my country. We are the masters of our enemy. We are the saviors of my life. So be it until victory is America's and there is no enemy but peace. Whew. You can check me. I think I got it right. I hope so. I think I did. Anyway, such a great creed. I'm going to read from this book right now, the prologue, so you can kind of sense why, what was going on during the time. You know, as World War II veteran Jim Hunter told me, he served on Peleliu. He said, you can't imagine, this was like your 9/11. So, let me move this so it's a little better here. Okay, I got to put on my glasses. I've been wearing these since I was 40, and I'm not 40 anymore, so. War fever. This is part of the prologue. Like a great tsunami flooding a vulnerable beach, a red-hot dose of angry war fever flowed through America's veins at the beginning of 1942. Images of the American fleet smoldering at Pearl Harbor with 2,300 Americans killed in one fell swoop ignited a fire through the country that would not be extinguished. Following Pearl Harbor, another unforgettable image emerged. Americans standing in lines all over the country, long lines, staked hundreds of yards in front of military recruiting stations. The lines formed at dawn in the days following Pearl Harbor with thousands of young men all around the country, many standing in the cold, anxious to take vengeance against Japan. Like no other time in American history, Americans primed themselves for war, but war fever exceeded Americans' ability to prosecute a war. January 1, 1942. 3 weeks had passed since Pearl Harbor. In the rumored words of the great Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the man who orchestrated the attack, Japan had awakened a sleeping giant. On this New Year's Day, with the nation at war, the U.S. government banned new car sales, mustering steel to produce ships, tanks, and other military weapons. Despite America's industrial potential, a decade of unpreparedness left the United States far behind her adversaries in Berlin and Tokyo. And while Congress declared war on Japan, Germany, and Italy, the day after Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt's two-front strategy in practical application would devolve into first winning the war in Europe and then finishing off Japan, later finishing off Japan. The U.S. Army's greatest fighting generals, Dwight Eisenhower, George S. Patton Jr., Matthew Ridgway, Mark Clark, and Omar Bradley, were all dispatched to Europe, with one exception. Roosevelt ordered the great Douglas MacArthur to the Pacific to establish the Army's Pacific Military Command in the Philippines. But for MacArthur, America's Pacific campaign quickly turned disastrous. As the Japanese tightened the noose around American and Filipino forces, President Roosevelt ordered MacArthur to flee from the Philippines. The American military's immediate goals in the Pacific devolved into 1, stop the bleeding, 2, save General MacArthur, 3, mount a counter-offensive against Japan. On March 11, 1942, with the help of the U.S. Navy, MacArthur and his party escaped on four U.S. Navy PT boats, slicing through the rough waters of the Philippine Sea, playing hide and seek with the Imperial Japanese Navy, which controlled all the waters around the Philippine Islands with its naval blockade. MacArthur's capture or death would mean a major symbolic and tactical victory for Japan. That could not happen. I'm going to jump down a few paragraphs. On April 9th, 1942, April 9th is my birthday, with MacArthur secluded in Australia, Major General Edward King, defying MacArthur's orders, surrendered more than 75,000 U.S. and Filipino forces to the Japanese. Bataan marked the most significant American defeat in World War II and the largest troop surrender in American history, triggering the brutal Bataan Death March. From Pearl Harbor to the American surrender at Bataan, the Pacific situation worsened. Aside from Doolittle's symbolic victory in the airstrike against Tokyo, which killed about 50 Japanese on April 18th, the Pacific War heavily favored the Japanese. In early 1942, the Japanese sliced through large swaths of the Pacific. The Japanese were dominating, and America needed a win. With MacArthur sidelined in the Philippines, the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps, led by the great Admiral Chester Nimitz as Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Theater, would prosecute the bulk of the Pacific War until the Army finished the job in Europe. The disastrous military situation in the Pacific weighed upon the U.S. Marine Corps senior officers, including Brigadier General William H. Rupertus. Soon, Rupertus would take command of the 1st Marine Division in the Pacific, but first, the division would have to be formed and made ready for battle. As 1941 turned to 1942, Rupertus possessed a significant advantage over many officers in the U.S. military. Why? Because he had twice seen the Japanese up close and personal. During Rupertus' time in China, Kai-shek had unified his nationalist forces to try and suppress the communist rebellion. At the same time, the Japanese showed increasing belligerency within China. Rupertus' first tour to Peking from 1929 to 1932 ended with greater personal hardship than any military encounter with America's future enemy. In Peking, Rupertus lost his first wife and 2 children to scarlet fever. Rupertus nearly died himself from the fever and remained quarantined in a Peking hospital as the Marine Corps shipped his families back to America for burial. In the spring of 1937, as America struggled through the last years of the Great Depression, the Marine Corps again sent Rupertus to China, this time to Shanghai. Now Lieutenant Colonel Rupertus returned to the 4th Marines to command the Marine detachment guarding the American interests at the international settlement. Like his early time in China, the tour started as a company tour so that Marine officers could bring their wives. But on August 13th, 1937, Japanese tanks, artillery, and infantry rolled into Shanghai to begin one of the bloodiest occupations in world history. All American dependents, including Rupertus' wife, Sleepy, our grandmother, were ordered to evacuate. But Rupertus and his China Marines stayed behind to guard the American sector of the international settlement, where from the front lines they witnessed incredible Japanese savagery. Old history that's really important to study today. You can read about it in this book, or you can go look at documents from the Marine Corps or the Army and learn more about this. But I encourage you to look into this history because it matters greatly to what's going on today.